Go.
All right, so part 2 of this is how you actually take your data and you put it on a graph so we can make a nice picture of the data. That's the whole point of graphing, is to look at your data in a way that's visual so that other people can understand how the two things that you were working with compare or how they relate. So you remember from last time we had labeled our axes, we gave ourselves a title. I'm going to go back and actually put some more numbers in the axes so that when I'm graphing it, it makes it easier for me to find where I'm supposed to put the dots. All right, so between 2 and 3, this right here would be 2.5. And between 3 and 4, halfway between 3 and 4 is 3.5. I suggest if you're struggling to try to figure out the halfway points, think about a number line. Or you could also just kind of punch it into a calculator. Like the distance between 3 and 4 is 1, so 1 divided into 2 pieces would be 0.5, and so this would be 3.5, and then this would be 4. There's other ways to do that too, but so now that we have our data, so the first point that we have is 7.34 over here, and if I look down here at my graph, I've got between 0 and 50 for this section right here, and there's 10 lines. So 50 divided by 10 is what, class? 5. And so each one of these is going to be worth 5. So this is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. So over here, 7.34, I know that this is 5 and this is 10. So 7.34 is somewhere between 5 and 10, like almost halfway. So that's where my 7.34 line is going to be from the x-axis, and the pull force in newtons is 2. And luckily I actually started my graph right here at 2 on the y-axis, and so I'm going to put a point right there. That's my first dot, okay, for my line graph. Then my second data point is at 8.75 grams, and again, over here, between 5 and 10 is where I'm going to be starting this. So again, you have another very close data point. So between 5 and 10, 8.75 is just like a little bit over. So believe it or not, these two data points are actually accurate based on how we set up our graph. Okay? Again, we're working based off of the data that we collected. The next point is 26.2, which if I go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and then this is 30, so a little bit more than 25 would be 26. And then again, the pull force is 2. So again, all these dots are on the same line, which is okay. It's how sometimes the data gets collected. The fourth one is 58. So this is 50, this is 55, 60. So 55 is right there, and 60 is right here. So 58, I know in my head, is pretty close to 60, so I'm going to go a little bit less. And again, the pull force is 2. You might be thinking, I'm doing this all wrong. You're actually doing it right. You have to graph what the data give you. The next one is 144. So here's 100, here's 150. I know we're counting by 5s on this. So this is 145, this is 140. So 144 would be right here. And then the pull force is actually up to 3. So 3 is over here on the y-axis. And I go all the way from 3 over to where I made that little point right there. And that's actually my next dot. And then my next one is 150, which is really nice. It's right on this line we already marked earlier. And then the pull force was 3.5. So I go to 150, and then I find where 3.5 was, right there. And then the last one is 175 grams, which is, 155, 160, 165, 170, 175, halfway between 150 and 200. And then my pull force there was 4. So I go all the way up to the top of the graph, like that. And then at the very end, the most satisfying part, of course, is connecting the dots. So I literally am just drawing lines as carefully as I can to connect in straight lines. I know that wasn't perfectly straight, but you want to try to make them straight? Okay? So that's how we do it. That's how we actually graph the points. That's how we create a line graph from data that we've collected. The next step, of course, is trying to understand what this is telling us.